want you guys to raise your hands if you have heard of and know what a seizure is. I want you to keep them raised if you have heard of and know what epilepsy is. Great, and I want you to keep them raised if you have heard of and know what SUDEP is. Perfect, thank you. S-U-D-E-P, 5 letters. All it takes is 5 letters to change mine and thousands of other people's lives in an instant. First, let's discuss epilepsy. Epilepsy.com, there wasn't an author, but this was published in 2014. They describe epilepsy as a person is diagnosed with epilepsy if they have 2 unprovoked seizures or 1 with the likelihood of more that were not caused by some known and reversible medical condition like alcohol withdrawal or extremely low blood sugar. So when you think about seizures, who here thinks of somebody dropping to the ground and convulsing? That's what I thought of too. But I remember when I was 8 years old. My brother was 12 and my little sister was 6. We were all playing in the backyard when we were building our house. We had a dum-dum sucker in this hand and we had a bag of fishies in this hand. I remember we were playing and my brother fell to the ground. His dum-dum sucker was blue and his lips started turning blue, so I didn't know if he'd just been sucking on it too long, if he was choking on the fishies, or what was going on. But I tried to wake him up and he wouldn't wake up. I told my sister to go get my dad, and as he started running towards me, I was scared out of my mind. I did not know what happened. Well, my mom and dad rushed him to the doctor, and it turns out that my brother was having a seizure. Not your typical kind of seizure, but there's actually 3 different types of seizures. This is created by Sally Schaefer. I actually met her at a local SUDEP conference this last summer. But let's start with the unknown onset. This is where doctors don't know where the seizure starts. It can be anywhere in the brain, they don't really know, and they don't know why it starts. When somebody has an unknown onset seizure, they kind of just go into behavioral rest. Their body just kind of is there. Next is the generalized onset seizures. When you have generalized onset seizures, you are definitely impaired. Your awareness is impaired. This is kind of all over your whole brain. They can see where it starts and where it is happening, but it kind of happens all over your brain. When you have a generalized onset seizure, when you have a motor one, you're jerking, you have weak muscles, you have spasms. The non-motor section of that is you have like staring spells, your eyelids twitch. And then lastly, the focal onset. There's actually 2 different types of focal onset seizures. There's aware and impaired awareness. You can actually be aware during a seizure, which is actually really scary to me. Can you imagine doing that and knowing what's going on? And then impaired awareness. The motor is like the same as the generalized onset. You jerk, seize, things like that. But non-motor is like you have changes in sensation. Like you can get goosebumps, get really hot and really cold. So what do you do if you see somebody that has a seizure? We now know what seizures are, but now that if you see someone having one, that's great if you know what's happening, but what do you do? This was also created by Sally Schaefer, but I look at that and I kind of get confused. There's a lot, so I kind of created my own. If you see someone having a seizure, you serve them. S is for side. Place the person on their side and make sure nothing is blocking their airways. R is remain and do not restrain. Remain in the area of the person having a seizure and be sure not to restrain them because that can be really dangerous for them. And V, verify that the seizure does not last more than 5 minutes, and if it does, you need to call 911. And also verify that when they wake up, they know what happened, they know that they're okay. Bad news, there's no cure for epilepsy. Nothing. They can't figure out a cure. Good news, there are things we can do to help. There's brain surgeries, there's certain diets we can do. The keto diet is supposedly really helpful with people that have epilepsy to control that. There are devices that you can hook up to your brain that kind of control your seizures. And then there's medication. So for my brother's type of epilepsy, the only thing that would work was medication. He has what's called partial complex seizures, and it's under that focal onset category. So what if none of these really control your seizures? I mean, the medicine kind of helped, but the seizures weren't gone. Obviously, there is no cure. What happens? Well, SUDEP, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. This is actually more common than you think. 1 in 1,000 people with epilepsy die every year because of SUDEP, and my brother is 1 in the 1,000. There was actually a study done that was put in the Epilepsy and Behavior Journal last year by, I don't know how to say her name, it's like Luce Redia? I don't know. So she randomly surveyed 94 American adults with epilepsy. She said the purpose of her study was to evaluate adult patient or caregiver feelings and viewpoints about SUDEP and awareness. So should we notify our patients that have epilepsy? Should we tell them that SUDEP is a possibility? Well, she gave these 94 people this survey, and 100% of those people that had epilepsy said they wished their doctors would have told them about SUDEP. None of them were told, and 100% said they wish they were. And of that 100%, 95% wish that the health providers should be required to tell people. Now, when my mom and dad took my brother to the doctor, they generally said, he has SUDEP, here's your medication, or he has epilepsy, here's your medication, good luck. My mom wasn't going to go home and search on the internet, can my son die from epilepsy? And if so, how can I prevent it? You don't do that. So, should doctors tell their clients? Well, January 29th, 2018, I got pulled out of my gym class to my dad telling me that my brother had had a seizure in his sleep. And that when he had a seizure, his lungs stopped functioning and he was face down on his pillow. My brother suffocated to death in his pillow at night. There are things we could have done and preventative measures we could have taken if we would have known about SUDEP. There are breathable pillows. There are headsets you can wear that inform people when you're having a seizure. And if I would have known, if I could go back, we would have taken those measures. But that's not, you can't go back. And I can what if all I want, but it's not going to happen. So I'm here to tell you today that epilepsy is a problem, and SUDEP is an issue. And it's something that affects thousands of families every year. SUDEP, it's just 5 letters.